have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock.
Hello. Thank you for listening to the Bold Moves podcast. I am the host, Mandy Bryce, and this is episode number 293. Today I am sharing an interview with Rachel Smets, who had a corporate job, decided it wasn't for her, and started moving abroad repeatedly. So she keeps moving to new countries, loves being a digital nomad, and has a lot of advice for anyone who's interested in doing any of those things. I think you'll love our quick chat. And without further ado, here is my interview with Rachel Smets.
Hello, everyone. Today I am chatting with Rachel Smets. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So you know that the show is called Bold Moves, and we wouldn't be chatting if you hadn't made some. So I'd love it if you would share a little bit about you, some of the risks that you've taken, and some of those bold moves that have made you on the show.
I would love to. Bold moves. The first thing I think about is because my bold move is just moving from country to country. It's just moving a lot, traveling a lot, but not just traveling. I've been living in many different countries for the past 17 years. Wow. And so every single time, and I'm on my own. So every single time it's like, okay, new country, new people, new adjustments, new food, new everything, new language. And it's like, okay, over and over and over and over again. So I've been doing that for 17 years. But a second bold move on top of that was when I've always had jobs abroad. And then about 3 years ago, I was in the corporate world and also, doing managers jobs and really good, careers and stuff, but also in other countries. However, I hated that job. I hate the corporate world. I'm a true entrepreneur and I just want to inspire people and help people and travel. And so I decided to quit that. So not just was I in another country and I'm still moving abroad, but now I'm like completely digital and traveling on my own and being my own entrepreneur and the solopreneur, what they say, and completely left to corporate. So that was like, woo, big jump.
Yeah, no kidding. So where are you from originally? I believe right now you're in New Zealand, right?
Yeah. So my last week in New Zealand, actually, and I'm originally from Belgium.
Okay. And it's your birthday today. Happy birthday. Thank you for spending part of that with us. Okay.
Truth be told, in the location I'm at now, it was yesterday, but because we're still on, it's crazy. This time difference, it's crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, it's
anytime
fun.
I've interviewed somebody in Australia or New Zealand, I always ask how tomorrow's going to be for me because it's tomorrow for you.
It's a beautiful blue sky and a sunny day. So get ready.
That sounds believable. I'm in LA, so that applies to most days here too. So you could market yourself as a psychic with that kind of recommendation. All right. So you're from Belgium and now you're in New Zealand and you've been kind of changing countries around. Can you tell me a little bit about like what you were doing when you were in that corporate space and how you were making that still workable with traveling, and then kind of how you transitioned a few years ago into the entrepreneurial space while you travel?
Yeah, totally. So I left Belgium when I was, I can't remember. Anyway, in my mid-20s. And that was the first time. And what I did in the beginning was look for a job in another country. And then I thought, okay, if I have a job, I have income and I can stay there. And then I moved my whole household, like the whole thing, the whole shebang, like administration, registration, insurances, everything. So a whole lot to do. The very first time I did that, it took me a year. And that's what I always tell people because I speak a lot and I help people, to create changes in their lives. And if that means moving abroad, doesn't have to be, but if that means moving abroad, it does take several steps. And for a lot of people that are stuck in their lives and unhappy in their lives, it's like, I wish, but I can't.
Yeah.
But that's not true. You can create the life that you desire, and moving abroad was possible. And the first time took me a year, and now it just goes instantly. Why? Because I've done it over and over.
Right.
But so that's how I did it the first time. It's like I looked for a job. First move was to Spain. In the meantime, I've lived, in UK, in Scotland, in France, in Germany, in India, in US. But I also landed jobs in the corporate world. And I was commercial manager, really high titles and all of that. And again, I did the same thing. I applied in a company, and I did my job. But I always hated it. So even though I was abroad, which was nice, I just hated my job. And it totally burned me out because that was not the life that I was meant to live. Really not. Right. Until I was pretty much burnt out, I would say. And I really started digging into myself. Like, what do I really like? What do I really want from life? And the thing that drives me and that I tell people over and over is I do not want to grow old thinking, I wish I had done it. You know, I wish. And I'm like, no, I want to say like, at least I did it, or at least I tried it, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I started really thinking, okay, you know, what is it that I really want? And I want to help people. I want to inspire people. I want to teach people to create that life they desire. And so I started studying, you know, I'm also, I guess, entrepreneur in my heart and blood. And so I just hate working for a boss. Mm-hmm. That's me. I really hate it. So I'm like, I need to change my life. And I started, really, again, taking the time to talk to other people, taking those small steps. It's exactly what I tell people. Like, it's all about small steps. But if you don't take that first step, you're never going to get to the life that you desire and that you're meant to be, because you're just stuck in that, you know. But it's like in an elevator, you go from level 0 to level 10. You don't go from 0 to 10 right away. No, you go through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I mean, that's in life exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. I started creating my online business. I started speaking more. I published 2 books. I did 2 TEDx talks. I, stand on stages, and I just build up. And I build up online courses. And self-confidence is one of my key topics that I love to talk about, because I had to learn it. I used to be super shy. And so I talked to a lot of people like that were successful and like super confident. I'm like, oh my God, were you born confident? And then I figured out like, hey, wait a minute, they had to learn it too, so I can grow it. If they can do it, I can do it. So with everything I'm doing now, it's always like, I look at others and I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it too. And so here I am now. And the big difference now is that I'm not looking for a job and moving everything. No, I keep my basis, which is now actually in the Netherlands, funny enough, but I travel, and I was 3 months in Canada. I'm almost 3 months in New Zealand. I booked my flight to Australia. So I'm working online all the time, and I can travel. So I really took time, but I now am creating the life that I really desire, and I'm just super happy. And all I want to do is have so many more people living that life they desire.
Yeah, it sounds like we have a lot in common, because that's very similar with what I do and my goals myself. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, through all of this, what is the scariest thing you've done, or the scariest moment along this journey that you've had to push through the fear?
Quitting my job and quitting the nice title and the money and the car and all of the luxury benefits that I had. And I guess I call it also the financial security, quitting all of that. And I did it several times. I did it at first when I was in my mid-20s. I was really successful in what I was doing. And, I had my family and friends and everyone around me like, wow, you're doing so well. And then I'm like, oh, I'm leaving. What? It's like, you're crazy. They call me crazy, literally, like, you're leaving all of this behind, all the security. And the next thing happened in my corporate. And it's just really scary, because you're just diving into the unknown. And that's something I talk about, because I just keep telling myself and telling others, like, the unknown, the definition of the unknown is that what is yet to be created. Mm-hmm. So the unknown, nobody knows what's going to happen. Even even if you stick to the same job, you don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. You don't know what's going to happen. No. But if you then leave that security of monthly paycheck and the title and the status, but it's just like, wait a minute, what do I want in my life? Do I want that security and that title and that status because everybody else wants that from me? Or do I really want that? Right. And that's kind of the shift for me. Like, wait, no. It's not what I really want. It's not making me happy. So I gotta go into the unknown. And the unknown is just always a step forward. And the unknown becomes what I make from it. Because I really believe, like, your thoughts create your reality. So if I keep thinking and putting my energy like, hey, I'm traveling, I'm teaching, I'm traveling, I'm teaching, that's where my thoughts go. That's what my reality becomes.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm curious, especially since you are so passionate about helping others kind of design their lives, whatever that means for them, what recommendations would you give on how to push past that initial fear of, for example, in your case, quitting that corporate job with the stability, or at least the perception of stability? Because like we said, nothing is guaranteed and you don't really know, but at least it seems like you have it a little bit more intact than the entrepreneurial roller coaster.
Pushing through is the right way to say it, because when you are facing fears, the only way to overcome it is by pushing through and by facing them. And there is no secret. And the best thing you can do is think about a smaller fear. Like think about the first time you took a flight, the first time you went into your classroom, the first time maybe you stood on a stage or in front of some people at work speaking, the first time you enter a big conference room and everybody turns around and see you. I mean, just simple, daily things that the first time it was like, oh my gosh, tomorrow I'm going to speak and I'm going to stand there. And, it's like, but then you do it and it's like, okay. And then you can do it again. And it's like, it's that victory, like, oh yeah, I did it actually,
Right.
So if you think back into your life, like how many times have you actually faced fears, but then you overcame it?
Right.
Then this is exactly the same thing. And if you break that bigger goal into very small, actionable, chunkable chunks, if that's a word, then it's easier to face. But there is no secret, and every big person out there that you think like, oh, they have it all and they're so lucky, they all have to go through that, facing fears. And I just say, shake hands with your fear, welcome your fear. Like if you don't have fears in life, you're never going to develop and grow. Never, ever. It's just not happening. So if you're the kind of person who loves their comfort bubble and you're just okay with that, fine. I totally respect that. But if you want to grow and learn and just make changes in your life, then you got to face fears. But you got to see fear as exciting. Like if I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to quit and I don't know what's going to happen. And I actually want to book a ticket, but I'm not sure. And because now I actually booked a ticket and I'm not even sure where I'm going to stay. I'm like, oh. And if fear would hold me back. Right. But I just constantly switch my thoughts like, this is exciting. Things will happen. This is really exciting. It's like, it's not fear as in scared negative. It's fear as in it's exciting.
Sure. Yeah. Just reframing it to, I think a lot of the physiological things that are happening are the same when you're scared and when you're excited. And then it's just about making that mindset shift.
Absolutely.
And I like that idea too, like you said, of kind of like making an evidence list of all the times that you faced a fear and survived, because you've survived everything you've dealt with so far.
Exactly. And the thing that, because I love psychology and I've studied all of that, and it's like, why is that? I always wonder, why is that people are so scared, and why is that we're always so rather negative than positive? And it's all because of, biology, and because, years and million, I don't know how many years ago anyway, that it just comes from that human nature that we want to fight, the fight and flight response. Right. So it's like, if there's a tiger in front of you, then the first thing is like, oh my God, I got to run away. And you get scared and it's like, he's going to eat me. So I need to run away. But it's so funny that we're still having that human reaction, which is completely normal, by the way. It's just nature. Yeah. But I mean, how often are you crossing a tiger in the street? Seriously.
I was just going to say, we haven't evolved yet to realize that most of our fears aren't actually life-threatening anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. So I'm curious, you mentioned that you had like a corporate job. You didn't say much about exactly what you were doing there. And then you said you've studied psychology, and I know you're a speaker and you have online courses, and confidence is a passion. Through all of this exploration and these different experiences, I'm wondering if you've found your purpose, and if so, what that is.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it's I studied psychology when I was mid-30s because I'm just a real people person. I just really wanted to dig in and find out like what is going on in this brain of ours and all of that. And I really studied with so much passion. And then after that, I did my master's in management because I thought management is going to get me jobs easier, get me into the corporate, and it did. Yeah, how did I find my purpose? I think when I was burned out from the corporate, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I really started digging into myself, like, really journaling a lot. And I'm not a journaling person at all, but just writing down like, okay, what am I feeling? What do I like? What are my thoughts? Why am I feeling upset? Why, if somebody, my second TEDx talk was, I kept comparing myself to others, looking up to others and, oh my gosh, they have it all and I don't. you know, and jealousy and all of that. It's all because we compare ourselves to others and that we feel bad about that.
Yeah.
And so my second TEDx talk was just that, like, stop comparing yourself. But I had to learn that.
Yeah.
I had to learn, like, wait a minute, what am I doing? You know, I was just feeling bad about myself, and then you start comparing yourself to others. But if you feel a lot of self-love and if you care about yourself, you don't do that anymore. You know, it's like, I am unique and I'm good enough as I am. And if I look at others, I do it because of inspiration, and I do it because, wow, I really wish you and everybody else the best, and I want to be like those big ones. And so, yeah, it's so I, you know, to respond more to your question, how did I find my purpose? Was all through that. You know, it's a journey. It's working with coaches. You know, I work with clients, but I work with coaches myself. You know, I need that. I need people to hold up a mirror for myself sometimes, like, hey, what are you doing now, and why did you do that, and acknowledge your wins and acknowledge your talents and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yeah, and so it started to completely start making sense, you know, that I love teaching, and then I started rolling into that. And it's almost like things just unfold the more you discover yourself. But definitely my main mission in life is just inspire and help people. That's like the biggest mission I have. And I do that by living the life that I created. And I just want others to create that life as well.
I love that. It's always so fascinating to me because I ask everyone that I interview about their purpose. And it's been so interesting at getting close to 150 interviews so far, how different people's answer is because of how either like drilled down and specific it is, or how general it can be. You know, like you said, you want to inspire and help people. You said how that you're doing that now, but that could be something brief in an interaction at a grocery store with someone, or it can be something that, you know, you're dedicating your life work to. And I think it's really cool that there's so many different varieties of following that.
Funny you mentioned that, because just yesterday I was at the gym, because that's the thing I do when I go into a new country. I go to the gym right away because I want to meet people and socialize. And so since I don't know anybody, that's what I do. And just there, like, I mean, how many conversations I had at the gym the past, you know, weeks about, you know, people, it just kind of comes to me like, oh, you know, yeah, you know, I'm, this lady was telling me like, oh, I just don't know. And I'm with my kids and I don't want that anymore. And I kind of want to do something meaningful with my life. And I'm like, so I'm like completely like helping her out and taking next steps. And like, it just feels, and when I do that, you know, I mean, totally for free here. I mean, it really, it's just because I'm so passionate about that. You know, it just makes me so happy when I see someone light up like, yeah, Rachel, that's what I want to do. Yeah, I'll do that. You know, it's like, yes, you know, I love that.
That's amazing. I love too how you said that, like, living your life the way that you do by design is one of the ways that you inspire other people, because I think that that's so key. One of my favorite quotes is that Marianne Williamson quote, where it's our deepest fear. Do you know which one I'm talking about? She says like, our deepest fear isn't that we'll be successful. It's not that we won't be successful. It's that we will. And that our shining bright inspires others and gives others permission to shine bright themselves. That's the paraphrase version.
Yeah.
But
she has so many great quotes. So I thought I'd give you. Yeah. She
Absolutely. But yeah, that reminded me of that. And I think that's so true, is that by living our best lives, that kind of gives people permission to do the same themselves. And I think that that's really fantastic. So on the topic of quotes, I'm guessing that you're a reader. I see some books behind you. I'm wondering if you have any book recommendations that you would like to share with anyone who might like what you're saying and want to hear more or pursue things further. And of course, you said you've written 2 books, so definitely let us know what those are, a little bit about them, and where we can find them too.
Sure. My first book was Awaken Your Confidence. And that's because, you know, my strong belief of my own journey of being really shy, you know, to becoming much more confident and standing on a stage. Who would have thought? But in my book, it's not my journey at all. I'm not a biography writer, but in my book, I interviewed 15 successful people of different backgrounds. One is an international speaker, one is a best-selling author, one is a successful mother who has her own business, you know, really different backgrounds. And I asked them every single time the same things, like, okay, what was your turnaround point and how did you grow your confidence? And so there was like really a common thread of, hey, I had to learn it, you know, I really had to build it up and I had to face fears. So you have a ton of examples in those interviews, like, okay, that's how they did it. And then you will I wanted to make sure that everybody will recognize themselves in there. And the second half of the book is 11 confidence hacks, 15 interviews and 11 confidence hacks. So like really things that you can just pick up the book and just say, okay, now I'm going to work on that. Taking action, facing fears, surround yourself with supportive people. Super important to surround yourself with the right people, not the energy vampires, but the positive spirits. Anyway, that's in a nutshell. And then my next book was Living Abroad Successfully, because obviously I've done it. And the reason I wrote that book is more because a lot of people still think like, oh, moving abroad, I'll just pack my case and go, kind of. I mean, simply put. But they don't realize that, hold on, you have to think about finances. And if you have problems in your country and you move, it doesn't mean your problems go away. If you feel bad about yourself, it's going to stay the same. You got to think about the language. You got to think about income. You got to think about the cultural shock, housing, So I kind of made a real clear list in there, like, okay, go through all of this and then, you can feel more ready to take that plunge. And talking about books that I love everything that is, like you, self-development and all of that. But the books that comes to mind for this interview, which I will always go back to, is Ask and It Is Given. Okay. And it's just because I don't want to be like a woo-woo law of attraction kind of person, but I do really, really believe that it works. I mean, I've done it over and over again without thinking like, oh, now I'm going to practice law of attraction. But it's just like, if you put your thoughts and your energy out there, like, this is the life I really want. That's what I really want. So ask and it is given. Put it out there in the universe. Not just think, but feel it and put your energy out there. I mean, I was just talking just now before this interview with someone like, oh, I really want that job. I'm like, I nailed every job interview that I've ever done in every country. Why? Because the night before or even the week before, I see myself in that interview, I visualize myself and I'm shaking hands with that person, even though I don't know who it's going to look like. Right. And I'm like, yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to start here. And I'm already there. Yeah. And so it's the same thing with whatever future you want. Mm-hmm. Just visualize yourself doing there, put yourself out there, ask, and it is given. I strongly, it works. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you for those recommendations. Those sound all fantastic. Now, you mentioned your books, and of course, I'll put those in the show notes. I love the links to your TEDx talks, so we can put those in the show notes as well. I'm wondering where we can find you online if somebody is listening and wants to check out your classes or anything else, following you on social media, whatever it is. Yeah. It's really easy. If you know my name and you know how to spell my name, Rachel Smets, Smets, then you can find me everywhere. So if you Google my name and on all social media, but my preferred one is definitely YouTube, because I really spend a lot of time twice a week to publish a video on YouTube that is all to do with that mindset and creating the life that you desire. And below my YouTube, there's lots of resources where you can find me too, because I always offer a free call. If you're really stuck and you really want to change your life and you don't know how, then I'm happy to help. So, yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Okay. So you've given your book recommendations, and I think just naturally through our conversation, you have given a lot of advice, especially for people who might want to try out the digital nomad lifestyle or move abroad. But I always like to give people the opportunity to share any other advice that they have. So if there's any lessons you've learned recently, if there's anything that kind of feels on your heart that you should share, or anything that you wish. I have a few things, but I'm going to make a selection right now based on my intuition. And that is that a lot of people, because we talked about fear, and a lot of people are like, they look at the past, they're like, well, I was never good at that, so I can't do it. It's always like you compare your past to your future, but your past does not equal your future. I'm going to repeat that. Your past does not equal your future. So even though I was raised in a family that is very conservative, the whole life, the same town, the same job, the same everything, and here I am, traveling the world, they don't get it. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that when you come from a past of some type of life that you have to keep that. It doesn't mean that if you're in a job that you don't like forever, that you have to be that person in your future. So you can really create your own future. Just don't stay stuck in the past. And I'm not saying let go in the past. The image I like to use, and I'm just going to end with this, is imagine yourself sitting in a car and you look at the rearview mirror And in the rearview mirror, you see your past.
Mhm.
Now, it's really important to once in a while look at that rearview mirror, right? It's really important to once in a while look at your past, because that made you who you are.
Mhm.
However, if you stick to that past, you're going to crash.
Right.
So keep moving forward and keep looking forward, and just once in a while think like, oh yeah, that's how I did it. So now I can do it better.
Yeah.
And then you move on. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
I love that. So I'm going to end with my favorite question that I have asked even before I had a podcast. And then in the last couple months, I actually got a prop that goes along with it. So this is a crystal ball. And my question is if 8-year-old Rachel had a crystal ball and could look and see, I know your birthday for you was yesterday, but I'm celebrating your birthday today in the United States.
Yeah.
And then, you said you bought a ticket to Australia. So you have a general idea kind of maybe you have speaking engagements coming up or your next course you're offering, the foreseeable future, if all goes as planned, you have an idea what that is. On a scale of 1 to 11, how excited would little 8-year-old Rachel be to see where you are today?
You know what? When I was 8 years old, I'm going to say 2, and that might be very surprising.
Wow.
I'm going to say 2, and the reason is that because you really mentioned 8 years old, and when I was 8 years old, I was like super shy, super self-conscious, super, feeling, just, trying to be the best I could, but just, always criticizing myself and all of that. So I would have never in a million years thought that I would be even leaving my home country. So, so it at that time, it's almost like, it's funny that you asked that. It's really funny because it's just people, it just shows me how I evolved and how I developed and how I changed and how it's possible to change. So that's kind of nice. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So you don't think that she would see like your evolution and the fact that you're thriving in this position and be a little more excited? Or do you think she'd just be scared to even believe that you had achieved that? Yeah.
Totally scared. Yeah.
Well, Congratulations. I've never been so happy to hear someone say a 2, because I know that it's not necessarily a question of like, how satisfied are you with your life? You answered it.
No, it's a good question. It's really, I love that question. Yeah.
I'm glad. And like I said, I've never been so satisfied. Usually when people say like even a 7, I'm like, oh man, come on.
Yeah.
But I love that. That's cool. Thank you.
No, I'm literally putting myself in the shoes of the 8-year-old. So that's what you asked. So that's what I did. Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for taking this time to chat with me. I am excited to see where you head and appreciate the wisdom you've shared.
Thank you so much for having me. And people can also go to my channel because soon you will be on it as well.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited for that as well.
Hopefully you enjoyed that and got some good value out of it. If you did, I would love it if you shared it with anyone else you think would find it valuable. I'd love it, of course, if you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode like the challenge coming from Rachel this Friday. And of course, I would love it if you left nice reviews in iTunes. That will help the algorithm show this podcast to other people and have them realize how wonderful and valuable it is. At least I hope so. Also, if you wanted more information about things that we chatted about, if you wanted links to Rachel's website and social media profiles and the books that she recommended, make sure you head to the show notes at www.boldmovespodcast.com. All right, that's all for now. As always, be bold and have a sparkly day. Bye-bye.